Hello, I'm Zoikanat and welcome to my studio. Finally, I'm here. So my PC is not very healthy, I'm afraid. It does fine whilst it's running. It just doesn't want to start up. When it starts up, it has a problem. And it crashes. Blue screens. A B-sword. Blue screen of death. And that's not good. Neither these glasses I'm wearing. So it's been doing it on a daily basis now. It hibernates, but it goes to sleep, and when it wakes up, it crashes. Which obviously is not ideal, to say the least. Shoot. Yeah, definitely not ideal. I don't have any razor. I've got a brush, but I do not have any razor other than the one on the end of the pencil. I've got that one. Okay. Can I now persuade that to come out? Possibly not. The stuff gets down into the grain. You've got to be really careful. Now what? Yeah, this PC, every time it starts up now is, or almost every time. Sometimes it does it, sometimes it doesn't. Thank you. I shall be there in a moment then. Now then, is this going to let me... Yes, it is. Oh, thanks, Wolfie. Dashboard. It probably says magic dots, doesn't it? Yeah, it does. Wolfie, thank you very much for that, for letting me know. I did indeed. This morning, 8:30 this morning. I went there expecting you sit and wait. I went there expecting to sit and wait till about 11 o'clock, which is usual what you end up having to do at that bar, but it's good. It's good. So there's always a lot of people waiting. This morning I walked in 8:30, nobody there, and I was his first customer, and when I left at 9:15 there was nobody there. Highly unusual, but yeah, I've had it cut, which it needed. I agree, it did indeed. I've just been too busy up until, well, I've been too busy today, but I thought I'd better do it. It's nearly Christmas. Sorry, I've been somewhat distracted this evening because the PC, as I was saying, it crashes regularly now, and I've run diagnostics on it, can't find anything wrong. I did a quick analysis of the crash dumps, previously hadn't found anything. So today I did a more in-depth analysis of the crash dump, and it seems to be suggesting that it was crashing because it couldn't read, or the device it was trying to get at wasn't there. Suggestion being that was the disk drive. And I have been seeing the odd error where the RAID controller was complaining that its structures were out of sync. So, it might be the disk drive, but there's no errors on the disk drive at all. Not even one. It is, the disk drive is perfectly happy. Even when I look at the drive controller, the drive's own controller directly, there's absolutely no errors. But I may end up having to spend several £100, because it's a 3/4 of a terabyte SSD, to get another drive just to find out. It's ridiculous. I could really do without that sort of expense at the moment. Can't really afford it. But if it is the drive and the drive goes down, well, that's it. I'm dead, relatively speaking. I'm off an awful lot of other things as well. But I have sort of done a little bit of maintenance work today on them, on the drive, or actually all the drives, just to see. We will find out probably tomorrow whether it's had any effect. I don't know if it's coincidence though, is it's just happened straight after the fall creators update came in from Microsoft. Pure coincidence perhaps, but anyway, you're learning the piano and a new song. I can't play the piano. I think that's probably more accurate. I sort of can play the piano. I can't necessarily finger it properly, but I can sort of play the piano, and I can almost play it. Well, I can sometimes play it two-handed if I practice a lot. I'm not fantastically good. So what song are you learning? I suppose technically what I should say is I can sort of play a keyboard rather than piano, because it's an electronic instrument that we've got here, so it's a keyboard or it's a harpsichord or it's an organ. Believer from Imogen Dragoons. Okay, not a song I know. One of my favourite ones to play is called Lady Linda, and I've forgotten it sounds classical when you hear it. It sounds like church music when you hear it, but it's actually a pop song. And I can sort of play that. This is sight reading. It's not. I don't know the music. I can read music, so I'm doing it by reading the music. And I quite enjoy that one. But I can have a go at simple stuff. The hard bit I found, especially with my left hand, is actually knowing where it is. Actually knowing where my right hand is as well. And I can tell if I've played a wrong note. And but that, of course, is a bit late at the time. Yeah, I'm going to say, I was just about to ask if it was a real piano. Must admit, I do did and do kind of do as in probably in a year or so ago, do enjoy playing it. It's kind of like creating music or creating art. It's sort of the same. I mean, I'm not originating music, that's for sure. I cannot write music, and it is fairly simple melodies I'm stuck with, but it helps if I actually know the tune. Even though I sight read, my timing is not very good on keyboard. It used to be okay with, which is weird. It used to be okay with the horns, the E flat and the cornet I used to play. And the weird thing is I can keep time. If I'm watching a band on stage, I can keep time with it perfectly. I can pick up. Actually, I usually pick up the half beat. For some reason, I always pick up the half beat. It's a weird thing. Everybody else is clapping along, and I would be clapping on the half clap, if you know what I mean. I don't know quite why I always pick up on the half beat, but I can keep time. But when it comes to keyboard, it's I have to have heard the music before I can play it. Well, before I can time it right, shall we say. Yeah, then wood is some of this. Well, I mean, I was going to say some of this wood is amazingly different. I'm using this piece of wood here. It's a different piece of wood, and I have no idea it was the same. Whether it's the same as the last piece I had or not. But I'm currently using the machine set at 7, and I'm getting such a dark output from it, which is. On the last piece of wood, I was running it about 8 or 9 to get this darken output this quickly. So this wood probably has a completely different natural heated colour when I cook it. So another commissioned piece here. Which is kind of weird, because I got this to do about 3 or 4 days ago, and it's a pop star, and that pop star died today. So it's kind of weird timing is that. I need a funnel. I wonder if that was changing it. Excuse me a second. Let's just turn that on. Yeah. That's cooled that down quite a bit. Let's just push the draft over there because I quite like how fast this is running. Actually, I'm going to have to turn that fan off this time. It's cooling it down too much. How's the clan going, Wolfie? You still beating everybody in sight? I'm off. Let's bring this up a bit more, I think, because otherwise you're not going to see what I'm doing. This shadow down here is from the camera. Can't really do much about it. What I ought to do, I guess, is get some LEDs and put a ring light around this camera shining down. That might be a good idea for something for the future. That way it will eliminate shadows. You've made a fun deck. You go from defeat to winning in 2 turns. So it's one of these. I wanted to say chameleon. Then that's not the word I was thinking of. Trying to think of it. It's kind of like. It's in disguise. It's kind of a wolf in sheep's clothing. It sort of looks poor until it lulls the other person into a false sense of security, and then snaps, and they're dead. You've beaten no one. But it's fun. Of course it is. Yeah, well done. Well, I've almost finished the other work that I was doing outside of the studio, the clearing and tidying and what have you. Hoping to have finished that off tomorrow. Maybe, maybe not. But deck is 100% MG, 0% skill. That's what makes it so fun. Okay, yeah. Well, at the moment, I may not be playing any. Well, I was going to say I may not be playing anything this weekend, but I don't know what's going on with this drive. If it is a drive, I don't know what's going on with it. I may end up having to buy another one just to prove it's not going faulty. And then, if it isn't, I've got a 750 gigabyte drive that I don't. Actually, it'll be a terabyte drive because you can't get the 750s. That I didn't really need. Well, the other alternative is to completely rebuild my PC in terms of software, which will take a few days to do, which isn't particularly something I'm looking forward to if I have to do it. And I'm hoping I don't have to test my whether my backups are working or not. Which is daft. I should test them, but it's kind of hard in the home to test your backups. Because to test a backup, you've got to use it, which means that you've got to kind of trash your PC in order to test your backup. And if your backup doesn't work, you've just trashed your PC. Mind you, I guess if I did, well, no. I was just thinking then if I did get another drive, if it proves not to be the drive, then I could always use it as a game drive. Install the Steam library on it. Not that I often have games that need to load stuff from the library really quickly, but and I guess technically I could always just send the drive back if it for no, just because I've changed my mind. But that doesn't really seem fair. Buying it just to use it as a diagnostic tool and then sending it back. It's akin to the people who buy clothes or whatever and then wear them to an event and then send them back afterwards. Buy them just for the event and send them back as not wanted. Okay, so I'm doing the easy bit first here. Not that there's any particular reason, other than it's just an easy bit. It's smart though. What's sorry? Oh, you mean? Well, I don't know. I mean, as a retailer myself, I would hate people to buy jewellery for an event and then send it back. That's kind of not very nice, because it's good enough for the event but not good enough to pay for. Or were you talking about me sending the disk drive back? I certainly can't afford it, but I don't really have any other way of testing it out, because the other drive that I do have in the other SSD I do have in the computer, which was originally the master drive, which got replaced because it was starting to fail, so I can't really even put that one back as the master drive. Plus it's smaller, and you always have the problem if you try and restore or copy a big drive onto a small drive, depending on the software. Some are clever enough to resize the volume. And trust me, to get a non-standard drive, in terms of when I got this, it was a special offer, not a special offer, it was a special edition. Drives normally come in 128, well 64, 128, 256, 500 gigabytes, and then 1 terabyte. And there was a 750 on offer for the same price as the 500. It was kind of, why not? Why wouldn't I want the extra space? But now it means I've kind of got to go to a 1 terabyte drive. She's about £270.
talk about another kind of world. Another kind of world.
What are you afraid of?
I'm lost in old.
Good job I'm going dark all the way to the bottom here, because if you come off the edge, it's always really hard to come off the edge with a light colour. You're trying to sort of just do a very light colour all the way up to the edge. When if you get to the edge, it always tends to go a lot darker, just because you sort of push down, and the pen slows down as you come off the edge. You got to takes quite a bit of practice to come off the edge of a board applying pyrography without it getting dark. This particular case doesn't matter.
They talk about another kind of world. Another kind of world.
What are you afraid of?
I'm lost in old ways.
I'm not afraid.
Just listen.
Back is. Okay, fair enough. No problem there. Oh, you're back. Okay, yeah. Now I understand. I was just thinking then. At this point in time, it would be great if I was one of these big streamers that these computer companies wanted to sort of throw computers and things at in order to do the advertising for them. Sponsored by Crucial at this moment in time would be quite good. I'm not, by the way, in case anybody's watching. Although I have been using their SSDs for a few years, but although their storage software is kind of a bit odd. I installed it tonight, and to check out the drive itself, the drive zone controller, from which I found there was no errors and things. And I decided that I'd not to lose. I might as well bring the firmware of it up to date, which it did quite happily. And then it refuses to talk to the drive. now gives an error, which is kind of a bit weird. So anybody from Crucial is watching, his software doesn't work after it's updated the drive, or it doesn't on my machine. Okay, yeah, Wolfie, I understand you'll be watching, but not participating in chat. That's no problem. So again, as with the last one, I'm not going to bother. Well, I'm not going to. It's not a case I'm not going to bother. I'm not going to tell you who this is. Now again, if you're watching the news today, you probably already know, given that I said he died today. Okay, that's not running very smoothly. Ah dear. My brain's going to sleep. I'm getting whilst I'm doing this. It's quite easy to get lost in what you're doing with pyrography. Good music playing in the background, and an image that's going well, and you just get lost in it. You know, whilst I'm supposed to be sort of broadcasting, I'm supposed to be talking and telling you whatever it is I want to tell you. My brain just goes, nope. We're just gonna sit back and enjoy this one. And I then forget to speak. And time passes really rather quickly like that. This is pyrography in real time. Now, I know I could be doing a voiceover, something which is slowed down or speeded up, I guess, but this is real time. This is how long it takes, and I'm actually taking less time than I normally do, because normally I wouldn't do this in one pass. I'd normally do this in about 3 or 4, but I want this dark. Plus, I, for some reason, seem to be doing pyrography a lot more quickly these days. For no apparent reason. Let that heat up as well. I did a portrait not so long ago. Which I completed a lot quicker than I was expecting. I did the memorial poppy, the remembrance poppy, and the writing, and I completed that in a stream, which was a lot quicker than I expected. And all of a sudden I just seem to be working a lot faster. Or perhaps more accurately, I guess, a lot more confidently. That's probably more what it is. Having the confidence to do things in one pass rather than 3 or 4. Usually what I like to do is start very light, and then if I need to darken it down. In this particular case I'm going quite dark quite quickly. This is where I could do with having that fan on, but it's cooling the pen down a bit too much for what I like, or what it's acting like here, so I'm getting wood vapour in my eyes a little bit. It's almost one side of... I guess it's a shirt he's wearing. So pyrography takes time. It takes time to toast the wood, cook the wood. You can help speed that along by using a hot tool, but ultimately it still takes time. It isn't something this size that gets done in 20 minutes. You might get your name written in pyrography in about 20 minutes. That's fairly quick and easy to do. You turn the pen up really high. You don't use a pen like this, use a different pen, and you write just like you would write anyway. It's nice and easy to do your signature in pyrography. It's somewhat of a permanent thing. Oh yes, move what they're pointing out the shop. Zaragonart.etsy.com. In there at the moment is the jewellery items that you see actually in this box here. They're not actually advertising Etsy. Despite the fact that I've just said there what's in the shop. All of those items were actually done on stream. That's why they're there. They were done in front of the viewers from scratch. Well, from rings in this particular case, the ones that you were looking at a minute ago, and broadcast through to the complete necklace, bracelet, or whatever it is. And so if you've seen it done on stream, you will see the same piece of jewellery available in the Etsy shop if you want to buy anything. If you want your own woven ring jewellery, take a look at the shop. There is also some crystal work in there as well, I believe. So Swarovski crystal, that can be quite difficult to say at times. There's a lovely necklace with Swarovski crystal. And actually there's also a couple of bracelets in a lace chain type style, which are also Swarovski crystal. One's called Special Lady. I can't actually remember what I've called the other one. But Special Lady is 3 bands of Swarovski crystal. In this particular case, the white, green, and white, or clear, green and white. Green, yeah, the green. I think there's all sorts of colours available though. Sort of reds and blues and things, and then there's one which is just a single band, which I guess is more of a tennis style bracelet. I've been thinking of expanding it though, and including some of the things like the pyrography items, or even the engraving, the glass engraving, like the TARDIS here. And the thing is, shipping things like that, glass, is obviously fragile, and postage for anything above a large letter can get really pricey really quickly. Large letter itself isn't that cheap. It's usually what I send the jewellery out in that class, and that's a few pounds to send. So when you start with things like, or even this for example, which is bigger, you're into sort of £6 or £7 UK, or even more, to be able to send this, especially if you're going international. Mind you, having said which, I'm just thinking then something like this I probably couldn't send to certain countries because it's wood, and you're not allowed to export or import wood into certain countries. and America, I think, is one of them. That you can't import wood without very special sort of licenses, I guess. You've got to prove it's disease free of certain diseases. So if you are interested out there in having any commissioned pyrography, by the way, check out whether your country allows import. If you're not in the UK, that is, before talking, because otherwise you'll never be able to receive it. Right. Get rid of those pussycat hairs first. I don't want to come into contact with them because they smell. Well, actually any hair does. Human hair as well. You hit it with something really hot like this, and as it cooks and shrivels, phew, it doesn't half smell, and I missed one. I'm concentrating and I can tell I've got the desire to stick my tongue out whilst I'm doing this. No idea why. Oh, I have in the past been known to find myself reaching for a calculator to do 1 + 1, literally 1 + 1, and I'm going, and then I go, what the, why? And I often do use a calculator though. It's not, I've nothing against them. At one time though, I could do some really, I could do some really weird things, like I could count in 36s and 18s, and now that's a long time ago, and that is because I used to work in a supermarket and I'd do stock checking, and for example, cans of pet food were 36 cans in a box. If you got a sealed box, it's 36. 36, 72, 108. Yeah. And I could count in 36s like that. And you learn all sorts of tricks as well. Like counting in 18s is easy. Like 5 times 18 is 5 times 20, which is 100 minus 10, which is 90. Because you do 20, which is 2 extra, and then you subtract them at the end. So you learn all sorts of tricks like that to count things really quickly. When you were stock checking, you weren't stock checking boxes, you were stock checking individual items. And that's when a calculator doesn't help very much, other than if you go, well, I've got 16 boxes of 36. Which is 10 times 36. 5 times 36, which is half of the 10 you've just got, and then you're at 36. Nice and quick. So, 36 plus 360 plus 180 plus 36. And the sum suddenly becomes a lot easier than it seemed when you started it. And the hardest part about all of that is adding 180 to the 36, to the 360. But even then you do tricks. You do things like, instead of adding 180 to 360, you had 140 to 400 and it becomes 540. It's a really quick sum. Whereas the other one was a bit harder. Just one of those tricks. If you add it to one side, you subtract it from the other. As long as you keep track of all the changes that you've made in your head as you're going through, you can do some maths really quickly like that. Eight times 8, 64. Well, some of the ones like that are yeah, that is 64. Some of the ones like that are not as bad. I don't find as bad because with 8, for example, because it's not binary maths, but it's computer maths. 8s and 16s. Like I always, and other times things like number bases fascinate me because things like you count to 5 on your hand, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and yet you can count to a heck of a lot more. He says it's about 512 on one hand. Is it 512? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it'd be units 2, 4, 8, no, 60, 32. 2 to the power 5 is 32. You can count to 32 on your hand. Oh dear, my brain isn't working that well tonight. But yeah, because you count in binary. If you count in binary, you can count to 32 on one hand. Kind of a fascinating thing. I suppose you could sort of count in trinary as well, but that's probably a bit harder to do when you can't move fingers individually like I can't. Well, having said which, I can do that, and I can do that, and I can do that. With both hands. Taught myself to do that a long time ago. You can probably guess why. Actually, I guess there's quite a lot of people around these days that actually don't know what that means. Although, having said which, it's got two meanings. The original meaning and the meaning that it sort of took on. Because I guess those people, most of the people that do know what that represents probably thought of a science fiction series, but the person who used it on the science fiction series took it from a real life event where that's used. This wood at this side is a little bit more resistant to the colouring. It needs more heat. So I'm slowing down a bit and actually going over it more than once. This is the sort of thing you have to adapt to when you're doing pyrography. Especially if you're doing multiple colours, even if you're doing a single colour like this, unless you're using a super hot tool where it sort of reacts really quickly, then you've got to sort of adapt the speed of movement and things like that to how quickly the wood changes colour. I guess this is where the other style of pyrographic tool, which looks more like a soldering iron, may well come in a little bit better in doing large areas like this, because it's got a significantly bigger heater, and also generally speaking the tips on them are somewhat larger and they've got a copper or iron core to them, so they store quite a bit of heat. And so it would be a lot easier to do something like this with a tool like that. Oh, you're playing Stardew Valley, are you? On Farming Simulator, you go through quite a lot of seeds on a big field, and I have no idea whether the quantities and the yields are anything like realistic, but the timescale certainly isn't. Crops do not go in 3 days. It'd be no fun though if it was somewhat realistic. Mind you, I have literally no idea. If you forget timescales, how many iterations it would take to go from 10 seeds to a large farm worth of seeds. But of course that would take many years in real life, but I guess if you've gone something through like about 50 iterations or something like that, then maybe it may start to resemble reality. I do say may. Because it's kind of surprising when you think about it. If you start off with 10 seeds and you get 10 plants, and each of those plants give you 10 seeds, you've gone from 10 to 100. Your next iteration takes you to 1,000. Your next one goes to 10,000. And so that's only within, 5 generations you've gone from 10 to 10,000, which is... and it just gets more. It's geometric in that way. Laser, good evening, welcome. Thank you very much. No, not really. I mean, it's broadcasting. It had crashed and restarted again this morning when I came down. It starts up during the night to do a backup, and it had completed its... Well, it crashed, rebooted, came back up, did its backup, and that was good. But so this evening I was looking at it in more detail. I actually sort of dug out a crash dump analyzer and started analysing the crash dumps, and it's definitely the wake up that's crashing the PC, and it's basically saying the device I want isn't there. Which the suggestion is the device it wants is the disk, so the disk suddenly goes missing or isn't there to boot from. And yet there are 0 disk errors. There are absolutely none at all. Windows isn't showing any, and the disks themselves aren't showing any. The nearest I'm getting is a warning from the RAID controller that its internal structures are not matching reality. But I don't know if that's referring to this particular disk, because I've got 2 RAID controllers in the machine, so 2 pseudo RAID controllers. One of them isn't connected or doesn't have any disks on it, so it would give errors. And it's beginning to look like a couple of things. Either I've got to rebuild the PC from scratch in terms of software, which I do not want to do, or I'm going to have to spend about £270 and buy another SSD just to find out if it's the disk, which is not something I really want to do at the moment. I really can't afford that sort of cash. And but if it does turn out to be the disk and it goes, then that PC is down until I replace the disk. Doesn't seem like it would be. You went from 20 to 40 to 63 and what? Yeah. Well, it didn't go as fast as that. This Wolfie. You keeping out of... Yeah, no beeping. There's no beeping codes or anything. Nothing's beeping in there. Occasionally the water cooling controller beeps because it's lost one of its sensors. But worse that does is speed up the pump. Yeah. Now there's no startup errors showing in on the. I know what you mean. In my case, it's got both LEDs and it's got a numeric digit display on the motherboard, and it's not showing anything. Possibly, as I say, the RAID, the onboard. All the disks on board are connected to a RAID controller, except that I'm not running the disks in RAID. I'm running them in what they call JBOD. Just another bunch of disks. And I have got a single error out of that each time, which is a structure error. But then again, if a drive's gone offline, it would give a structure error as well, so I don't know. So yeah, it could be motherboard. If it's a motherboard, then again, that's a full PC rebuild, because unless I can get another identical one, all the water cooling would have to change for it, or most of it. Because the north and south bridges are water cooled. Actually, the processor should be alright, but reuse the processor. 8 is 64, yeah, that's right. -1 is 63. Oh, you stupid. Why do you have 8 squares empty? Because you don't have 8 by 8? Or you miscounted something else? Maybe you got 9 by 8. You should know by now never to ask in chat if you're stupid. Somebody's always going to say yes. I guess if I'm hoping it isn't a motherboard. Mind you, if it is, if the RAID controller is going on the motherboard, providing it passes a post test, I do have a separate RAID controller that I could use. I intended to use it in the server I bought. So I could run hardware RAID, because the software I run the virtual machines on doesn't like software RAID controllers. It doesn't work with them. So when I built the other server, I got a RAID controller for it, intending to run RAID, and the motherboard didn't like the RAID controller. Wouldn't recognise the RAID controller. It would recognise the disk, but not the RAID controller, which is a weird thing. Yes. That being a different machine, hopefully it would, and I'll finally get to reuse a really expensive RAID controller. But if I have to put it in my own machine, then so be it. Yeah, you probably typed before, just before Wolfie got his second question in, and he got a mistiming, but it does look funny. It's my sense of humour anyway, Laser. I was considering just saying yes at that point. So, Wolfie, are you going to keep us all in suspense? Are you going to tell us why you've got 8 empty squares if you thought you had 64 of them and you've filled 63 of them? In itself, you know, 8 by 8 being a mega farm is kind of amusing anyway. Now, as you say, 8 by 8 equals 64. 8 is to 64. 4 times 16. 4 60s are 24 plus 40. 64, and if you're not quite sure why you're minusing the 1 to get 63, but are you now? Oh no. I was thinking then of, you know, are you counting what you've got in store? And assuming that, and forgetting that you sold some, or if you were counting what you'd have in store, it would say 63 on it, wouldn't it? Now you're going to need to resort to the 1, 2, 3, 4 method. -1 because okay, I'll take your word for that. Square cam. No. Something programmers often do is forget the -1. Because they forget that 0 is a number. And in a lot of cases the computer recognises 0 as being a number, and therefore 64 numbers is 0 to 63. That's why 16-bit is 65,535. He says instead of 65,536, because 0 is a number. It's a pain in the neck when you're programming because things like arrays start at 0, but other things don't. Other things start at 1. It actually makes perfect sense when you understand the underlying code, but when you don't, the machine level code. But when you don't, it can be real confusing. A number of times I've misreferenced things because of just that. These days I have a habit, well, occasionally have a habit of thinking about it, and usually, often what I'll do is set the base on things like arrays to 1, so that the lower bound, so that you don't have the problem. It's a similar interesting challenge if you ever do programming or even macros with Microsoft Excel and spreadsheets. Now, I'm guessing Google spreadsheets may be the same. If you're trying to, some of the stuff works with letters like column A, row A, row 5, these sorts of things. Some work with numbers like row 5, column 5. When you want to convert from one to the other, that's when it gets interesting. Because it's base 26, but not quite. Because in letters you've got no 0. And in base 26, 26 would be 10, not Z. So it would be it would appear to be A0, but you can't have A0 because 0 is not a number. In Excel, you've no column 0, row 0. If you did, it would make more sense. It'd be base 27 then, which probably would still be a problem. But it's a bit of a mind bender when you try and convert numbers to letters in spreadsheets like that, because of the fact that they're using the alphabet where A equals 1. And Z equals 26. No, it's 9 by 9. That's why you've got 8 left over. What did I ask you? Yeah. Oh yeah, no, it just prompted, sorry Laser to confuse you, it just prompted me to think about how computer problems, coding problems come in like that as well. Yeah, it was counting farm squares. But now that you know that he's got a 9x9, why is that number familiar? Rather than 8x8, makes perfect sense. No, I don't. I'm not going to bother trying to work it out. It does sound like a logic problem, but I'm not going to bother trying to work it out. I'm too busy trying to get this shirt complete. I turn my brain off when I'm doing pyrography. Why I stop talking sometimes. Yeah, love it. Yeah, no problem. Although strictly speaking, it's no longer a mystery because you know the answer. And me not knowing the answer does not bother me in the slightest. I've had people try that trick on me before and I just go, nah, not bothered. Usually what happens in the end though is that they tell me because they were itching to tell me. But because I'm not bothered to ask, they don't, and eventually they just tell me anyway. Reverse psychology sometimes. Works wonders. The reason I wasn't. Yeah, but I didn't tell you, did I? No. I told you I'd made a mistake, as I do when I'm doing pyrography usually, or anything, because that way, yeah, that's sort of a way of showing how you can mitigate those mistakes. You were the one that wanted to guess. I mean, I did sort of say, you know, anybody want to guess? And you wanted to guess, and I did offer to tell you, and you said no. By the way, for anybody that is watching, well, there's a few of you. The reason the reason that I wasn't streaming last night is because of the PC crash. But at the time, I was running a memory diagnostic it had been running for, well, it ran for about 3 hours in total, because I ran a full memory diagnostic on the machine, which it passed with absolutely no problems, but it took about 3 hours. It finished at 10 o'clock. I really didn't want to stop it at that point. I was just looking for any problems with the machine, because continuously restarting, continuously crashing a machine isn't good for the operating system. You can end up corrupting it, which indeed happened yesterday, which is what prompted the memory check and the disk checks. When I tried, it had crashed. When I tried to bring it back up, it said basically can't load the operating system. Do you want to do a restore? And it attempts a restore to the last checkpoint, which luckily was earlier this week. So, but that's when I took it back offline and was did a full memory disk check. Found absolutely 0 errors, which is frustrating. Intermittent errors are the worst things to find. In anything. Right when tested. RWT, it's a kind of an industry, or lots of industries use that as an acronym. RWT, right when tested. I personally quite like pepcac. Problem exists between keyboard and chair. This wood is resisting. It was okay at that side, it went really well, but this side it's resisting. It's taking a lot of heat and it's cooling the tool off. So I have just upped the heat on the tool. I'm having to do sort of multiple passes. Yeah, ID10T. I have in my time done computer support, and you see these sketches where they you'll sort of see things like computer technicians saying, have you turned it on? Is there a green light showing on the front? Have you plugged it in? Those are really questions you sometimes have to ask, because users don't. I have more than once gone to a fault, and you've asked them over the phone, is there a green light on the front? Yeah, there's a green light on the front. Okay, so you then assume that it's plugged in. Is there a green light on the monitor? Yeah, there's a green light on the monitor. And you go there and it's not plugged in, and you go, you said there was a green light on it. Yeah, look, it's dark, but it's a green light. And that's you take 20 minutes to get there or whatever, and you really do get users that don't know to plug it in. You mean it needs electricity? I've literally had that. Is it plugged into the wall? You mean it needs electricity? Yeah, it needs electricity. No, it's not plugged in. Try that. Plug it in. Make sure you switch the switch on. Hey, it's working! How did you do that? How did you fix it from over there? They're real. So all of those of you who are computer literate who thought things like that were sort of made up, they're not. I mean, you even had to do things like the keyboard doesn't work, and I'm typing on it, nothing's happening. Is the keyboard plugged in? It doesn't plug into the mains, does it now? Is it plugged into the computer, into that big square box that's on your desk? I don't have one on my desk. You don't have one on your desk. Where does the wires go from the back of the screen? Oh, they go to a box on the floor. Okay. Is the keyboard plugged into that box that's on the floor? No. I wouldn't say older generation. Back when I was doing it, they were the younger generation layers. I mean, to be honest, these days, I quite expect quite a few of the older generation to be somewhat better than some of the younger generation these days. Because the older generation, these were around when computers were these big boxes, and you'd all the wires and things. The younger generation these days are kind of like, it's a single, it's a phone, and that's you don't have keyboards and things like that. And when you in work, they don't understand. Some of them do not understand that the screen doesn't do anything if it's not connected to something. Yeah. Yeah. That can confuse me, never mind somebody else, Wolfie. Sometimes you go. I mean, it's. I'm trying to think what else has changed. Something just recently changed, and I was looking for the log, and I could not find the log out. It's things like. Actually, I was trying to do something on Twitch the other day, and for the life of me, I cannot find a menu for it, a menu item for it, which used to be there. It used to be really obvious. Now, the only way I could find it was to Google it and get a direct link. But yeah, I can understand that sometimes. I'm trying to think of some of the other funny things that we used to get back then. I mean, back then, an Ethernet cable used to be about that thick. Coaxial cable with things called bee stings and stuff that you connected computers to them with great big boxes. But what's some of the other things? Yeah, we had one once where somebody's monitor had been changed. And they rang up saying there's something wrong with the monitor. It was a replacement monitor. Something wrong with the monitor. Oh, what's wrong with it? It's all blue. Right. So what's wrong with it? Well, it should be green. Why? Well, it always was. It's now blue. Yeah, we've changed your monitor. But it's blue. Because there were monochrome monitors back then. Yeah, it's blue. Well, won't all the text and the answers we put in be wrong because it's a different colour? No. I can't remember the exact conversation, but it was kind of like that. Because blue were more expensive. Blue were better for you than green. Actually, brown's the better one. But blue was better than green in terms of usage. And brown, orangey brown, was the best monochrome monitor to get if you got a chance. Oh, back then that used to be a favourite. I mean, there was no keystrokes back then to do that unless somebody had installed a joke program. But yeah, there were. Nowadays, there is usually a command to turn your key, to turn your screen all sorts of ways. When we had when Windows was a relatively new thing, you used to have all sorts of joke programs for it that would do things like make the letters fall. Like, every so often a letter would just fall down and pile up at the bottom. And like sort of snow or whatever, and you'd just all the letters, and you'd end up with a blank page. And some of the others would, it would snow on the screen, and the snow would build up, covering everything up. Or you'd have the spin dryer. You'd get something like your PC is dirty. We're going to clean it for you, and then you'd hear the screen that started to swirl and spin, and then you'd hear the disk drive spin up, like a washing machine, and then we'll just dry the screen for you, because you'd have dots on the screen. You just dry this, and then it'd spin the disk up even faster. But no, it was doing that. It must have been pulsing it or somehow, and it would spin the disk up, and just like a dryer, a spin dryer, and the screen would clear, and you go, there you go. Silly joke programs. We used to have there was a computer system called a VAX. The Digital Equipment Corporation used to make them, and with that, as a system operator, you could install sort of scripts, if you like, which started up with when the user logged in, and you could also replace all the system error messages, and so you could you could lock them in. We used to do things like I can't remember. Oh yeah, somebody would go dir for directory, and the response would be deleting all your files, and then start to list them as it would do normal. It was doing what it was supposed to do, but it would look like deleting all your files and then start listing them. And of course, they're then trying to abort it, and that would come up with an error message, and I'm like, okay, and we'd go, oh no, you don't think we'd let you out this easy, do you? And then it would go back to listing the files. And we just played about with there's like about 1,000 error messages, and you could play about with them and really change them about and have some real good laugh out of it. But you had to do that with somebody who was sort of fairly like another system operator. And we'd you do things like trap all the normal ways out of it. So these days, for example, you'd hit Control-C, but back then, if you hit Control-C, what you do is capture that and go, "That's not that easy. Try harder." Because you very quickly recognise when somebody had done this to you. And in actual fact, you couldn't actually break out of it almost all the time. Unless somebody had made a mistake, you actually had to get another syshop to remove it from you. I had somewhere all the system error message, modified system error messages printed out, and when it's quite hilarious to sit down and just read them. Daft as it sounds, reading system error messages, but when they've been converted to things like somebody trying to delete a file and doing it wrong, for example, the message was like, "Who's a silly boy? You don't delete like that," and just messages like that were just really funny. Yes, they were. They were. I mean, technology though, back when I was working, we in the start of IT, way near the start, we had a laser printer which produced better quality than the typist did, and things like that. It was back then the quality printers were daisy wheel printers, and yet we had a laser printer, one of the sort of first laser printers. It would even do double-sided, which was really kind of amazing, and we produced better output than the company typist did. Kind of they very quickly wanted computers and laser printers. I think I said before, I remember Windows, the original Windows, when I think off the top of my head, you could only run one application at once. Windows didn't overlap. They were all side. If you had two windows, when you started to two windows side by side, they were side by side. You couldn't have them overlap at all. Windows 386. I have. I think I've played with just about every version of Windows. And now you carry things around in your pocket, which itself is amazing. It is not that long ago that that sort of computing power just was not available, and now it's in your pocket and it's running off batteries, not three-phase main supplies. Back then when modems were fast modems were 110 bits per second, and that is bits per second, not kilobits. And it was such a big thing when 300 baud, as we used to call them, modems came out, and then technology took off a little bit, and we had 1275, and then we had what came after that? 600, 1200, 1908, and I can't remember whether it then started to take off a little bit till we got to the 56k modems. And of course now some people have gigabits to the desk. The more frightening thing is that people are actually stressing gigabit connections, though. That's kind of the amazing thing these days. Not that people want them, but they're actually consuming enough data to actually saturate them. Yeah. I think it's yeah, technology. Yeah, it's just thinking back. Just okay, I'm old. Not that old, but I am old. And just over my lifetime, the changes are absolutely phenomenal. You guys, of course, who are younger, probably have notice it less, I think. Just because, of course, things were more developed when you first knew them. You love farming. You ought to try Farm Simulator. It's a bit harder. Of course, we were talking about computer users earlier, and some of the funny things that they do. I don't know if you know the game Car Mechanic, but I was not so long ago. I was talking to somebody who was a car mechanic in real life, and he was recounting the story of people that come in to the workshop thinking they know all about car mechanics because they've played this game Car Mechanic, and they go, well, all you need to do is just take off this, and you just undo these 4 bolts and sort of the whole wheel comes up. No, it doesn't. Doesn't work like that, and you just if you get at this from one, and they're trying to tell a car mechanic how to do it because they've played this game, which they think makes them experts. Oh well, that proves it's nothing like real life Wolfie, because you spend 1.8k and maybe get 1.6k, maybe get 1.8k back if you're lucky, or more likely 1.5. I sometimes wish real life was as easy to make money as they do in games. Right. It's now 9:20, and it's almost 2 hours since I started streaming. Not quite, but almost. But I have just finished this big chunk here, and I think that's probably good enough for tonight. Oh, well, at least you, wish that was true as well. I'm sure a lot of farmers wish that was true. They could at least break even minimum. Yes, so I finished the shirt, I guess, which is, given that it's almost 2 hours, I think I'll stop at that point before doing anything else. Next thing I'll do is the hair, because that's black as well, or blackish. I really ought to do the eyes, but I'll probably do them third. I'll do the big black areas first. It's a lot easier to do that, and then see if we can do the eyes. But that's it for this evening. You've played Surgeon Simulator. Yeah, you do. You totally know more than me. But yeah, I know what you mean. Going to the doctor, telling him how to operate. Oh dear. sorry, I have seen some of the real life simulators for surgeons. They are amazingly realistic, I believe, but nothing like the game, of course. I don't think many people will buy the real thing, even if they could afford it. This would be, should we say, somewhat gory, even for people who like blowing zombies apart. Yes. So, unfortunately, we will wrap it there. I would just point out to anybody that's watching, of course, the blue box at the bottom has been there all the time. The important URLs as far as the channel is concerned. I'm not going to go through all of them. You can see what they are there. I will just point out one of them's argonaut.etsy.com is a shop where all the jewellery items that you've been seeing in the pictures above are available if you're interested, especially for Christmas. I think they make great Christmas presents, but I'm biased. There again, I've also given them for Christmas presents, so I'm still biased. The other thing I'll point out is at the top right, which I'm now remembering where right is of course the two buttons up there. One for the follow, so that you get notifications, can see me in the following list, and the other one subscribe, which if you'd consider it, I'd love for you to consider it, because subscriptions help pay for things like wood and stuff like that for the channel, so we can continue doing all the crafts that we do. Unfortunately, materials are not the cheapest of things these days. I am hoping I will be streaming tomorrow night. Unfortunately, my PC is slightly ill. I don't actually know until I come to boot it up tomorrow evening as to whether it will actually start successfully. So what I would suggest is keep an eye out on Twitter, because I will definitely tweet out if there's a problem where I can't stream. And I may even go, yay, I can stream, because it booted up. I will try and put a message into Twitch if I can, but that's a bit harder, because it's a bit harder using the phone to do that. Phone on Twitter's relatively easy. Phone to Twitch, not so easy. As to update my message things that's on there. If I am streaming tomorrow night, it will be between 7 PM and 8 PM UK when I start. That's GMT. The variable start time is really depending on what I've been doing during the day and when I manage to get something to eat. I always find it's a good idea to eat before I stream. I have better concentration that way. And biased. Yeah, I'm biased. Totally biased. But I don't know. I think they're lovely. I would make good presents for some people who, somebody who likes a nice stainless steel heavy bracelet. I think that looks lovely. And you get something like this, or some of the crystal ones like the Special Lady, I think really look beautiful. This is an expensive bracelet, is this one, because of the time it takes to make. That took about 10 to 20 hours, I can't actually remember now. It took a long time to do that one. There's over 500 rings in there, individually, one at a time, opened and closed, and woven in. So yes, thank you, and good night, Laser. Thank you very much. I hope it fixes itself as well. I kind of hope it was the Microsoft update and they'll roll out a fix, but don't know. With that, thank you all. Hope to see you on the stream tomorrow night. Hope there is a stream tomorrow night. Fingers crossed. With that, see you later. Bye for now.